Hello everyone, thank you very much for coming this evening to our online public exhibition for Ardenvale Green. You're very welcome and thanks for signing up. Just before we get started, I'm conscious that some of the software that we're using this evening may be new to you, so I just wanted to let you know how this all works. My name is Joseph Baum, my colleague is Jack Brentnall, and we've been handling the public consultation. The first thing to say is that you will notice at the bottom right of your screen, you can go into full screen mode. Please do so now. That will enable you to see as much of the information as possible this evening. The second thing to say is obviously we want you to ask as many questions as possible throughout the course of this presentation. Please do that as and when you have a question at the bottom, just on the right hand side there with the question icon. You can ask us questions. What we're going to do is to source some of those questions throughout the course of the evening, put those to our team, and any questions that we can't get to this evening, we are going to respond to every single question, hopefully within the week, depending on how many questions there are. So please ask your questions, and you may, even have questions now. So please start to do that. We welcome the questions. And then the third thing to say is we're conscious that not everyone may be able to join us for the whole presentation. So if you look at that download icon on the right hand side, you'll be able to download the community newsletter that was sent to all residents in the village, and also the slides that we're about to present to you as well. You can download them, you can print them off. They will also be on the website after this evening's presentation as well. So there are multiple ways that we will be giving you this information. And then the final thing to say is this is our team. We've got Billy and Craig from Ellswood Homes. We've got Jonathan, we've got Patrick, we've got Andrew, we've got Jack. Sorry, I missed you, Paul. We've got Paul as well from ECE Architecture. And as I said, Jack and I are handling the community engagement, meeting with any and everyone who wants to talk to us about these emerging proposals. So without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Craig at Ellswood Homes, just to explain a bit more about why we're here and who you are. So over to you, Craig.
Thank you, Joe. Just as a very quick introduction, my name is Craig. I'm the Land Director at Ellswood Homes. To give you a bit of background as to the company, Ellswood Homes was formed in 2006 as very much a small, bespoke private development company. We're based near Redhill in Surrey, and I think initially as a company we worked on small projects, anything from small housing developments to small flatted schemes, and again permitted development schemes, so office to residential conversion. In recent years, the company's expanded and expanded, I suppose, from an organic point of view, where we now handle certainly much larger schemes. I wouldn't say we're at the sort of Barratt Homes level. We are certainly still a bespoke development company, but we're now handling sites that would be anything from sort of 5 to 10 units up to 50 new homes. We also have 3 regions. So the Surrey region is a head office region, which covers Sussex, Surrey and West Kent. And we have a Greater London region, which focuses on the sort of Greater London market, moving through actually to the Cotswolds, where we have a development site there as well. We also have a new region in the last couple of years, which is going very well in East Anglia. Again, very rural, but again, very much bespoke developments, anything ranging from 5-10 units up to 89 new homes, which we've currently got in planning at the moment. In terms of, I suppose, the future for Ellswood Homes, we're very much focused on self-build, so we build all of our development sites. We have in-house planning and construction, and I'll be passing on very shortly to my colleague Billy, who is the planning director at Ellswood Homes and covers all of our sites internally. I also, as a personal point of view, I live in Sussex. I live in a village. I've lived in a couple of the villages actually in Sussex, very close to the borders of East Sussex. So only about 20 minutes away from Brewbridge. But thank you very much, and I'd like to pass you on to my colleague, Billy Clements. Next slide.
Thank you, Craig. Good evening, everybody. As Craig said, my name is Billy Clements. I'm the Planning Director at Ellswood Homes. I'm just going to run you through the next few slides, which are just a brief introduction to the site, which I'm sure many of you know well, and then a brief introduction to what we're proposing and the type of development we'd like your views on. So just to begin with, the site itself is on the eastern side of the village, as I'm sure many of you know, and is positioned just to the south of Leland's Close and directly abuts the Spa Valley Railway line, which forms the western boundary of the site. Thank you for that, Joe. The site is in a sustainable location. It's just a short walk back into the heart of the village, with the site being fortunate to benefit from excellent pedestrian and cycle links via the byway back lane on the northern side of the site, and the footway, the public footpath that runs along the southern boundary. Vehicular access at the present is to the existing bungalow Little Wold, that's from Station Road, and similarly moving forward the intention would be for access to be from Station Road. Next slide. This slide just gives a bit of a feel for the site, the setting of it, what it's currently used for. As it stands, it's currently grass fields used for grazing as part of the livery yard at Ardenvale Farm, which is just off Station Road. The livery yard itself would continue to operate should development come forward. It's just that the horses would be grazed on the fields to the south of the public footpath, which is sort of marked between 5 and 7 on that plan. And that yard would continue with development being on the northern fields. The site, as I say, is bounded on the northern side by the byway back lane, with the footpath forming its southern boundary. There's dense hedgerow on both of those, which provides a sort of screen and a visual break. On the western side of the site, the boundary is formed by the embankment to the Spa Valley Railway, and again, a fairly dense and well-established tree and hedgerow boundary along that particular western side. The site also includes the bungalow on Station Road, known as Little Wold. That's marked between the 1 and 2 on the plan in front of you, and the proposal would be that bungalow would be demolished and the new access road formed through that plot and then into the land to the south, crossing over the byway in the meantime. Next slide. This one is really just to introduce what we're proposing here. So our proposals in very broad terms are for up to 25 homes with extensive open space, so set within a very well landscaped open setting, reflecting its edge of village location and the characteristics of the site. Our emerging sketch proposals for the site are shown on the right-hand side of the slide. And as I say, broadly speaking, the sketch layout reflects houses being focused towards the northern part of the site, which is closest to the existing built-up settlement of Groombridge, with the open space and the landscaping featuring more on the southern parts of the site as it abuts the countryside and would continue to abut the countryside. Craig will cover in a little bit more detail our emerging thoughts on how that open space could be used and how it could benefit the community and the various options that might exist around that. As previously mentioned, vehicular access, as I say, would be from Station Road with a new junction created and an access road into the site. The access road would cross the byway, but it would cross it at grade, so that's to say on the same level, and measures would be put in place to ensure that it remains a safe environment for the existing users, pedestrians, cyclists, and the lesser use by horses and horse riders. In terms of a bit more detail, the homes at this stage, we feel the site has potential to deliver a mixture of sizes of homes, really designed in order to meet quite broad range of needs, ranging from first-time buyers and new families in the village that want to stay in the village and get on the housing ladder, older residents and existing households in the village that might want to downsize into a more manageable home and something fit for their later life, and equally growing families who might be in a 2-bedroom house at the moment but looking to upsize but stay within the village, stay close to the school and to their family and community networks. The proposals are at an early stage. I mean, you'll see from the plan that it's in sketch form. To date, they've been shaped by our careful consideration of what constraints and opportunities the site offers, but also our initial discussions with the district council around what they might like to see and the criteria they may place on a development. But for us, this public exhibition is really an important opportunity to hear your views, to hear the views and aspirations of the community of the village, and to help shape the final proposals so that they best meet the needs of Groombridge. Next slide.
Thanks, Billy. The next slide really is sort of the bottom southern sort of westerly section of the site as it abounds the southern footpath and the railway line. What we're having and sort of showing here is a potential for a sports pitch for the school. Obviously, the school is literally, you can't see it on the side, it's the other side of the railway line just to the left. What we've consulted on at the moment with the head of the school is the potential requirement that is there for some outside space that isn't covered by concrete. So I think from that point of view, we've had initial discussions and put forward an idea that this could have some community benefit, that we offer a sports pitch, which would be grass-based sports pitch, multi-sports, whether that's football or tag rugby or whatever it might be. Certainly we can accommodate something within the open space element of the southern section of the site. I think in terms of giving just an approximate, within approximately 100 metres, probably slightly less from the rear access of the school, it's fairly accessible for the school rather than possibly, I think, as we understand it, the Panyards, which is currently used, which is a lot further away. So there we can accommodate something here. We haven't gone into detailed discussions about pitch and what it will be, but at this stage we've opened up dialogue with the school as to the requirements that may be there. And I'm sure that many people listening are parents of children at school. And so this is something that we're offering as a potential community benefit should the school have a requirement for such a use, which I think is certainly a positive. And next slide.
Yeah, hi, my name is Jonathan Buckwell. I'm from DHA Planning and we are the planning consultants on this proposal. So as you've heard already, we're looking at providing up to 25 new homes on the site with a variety of sizes. 35% of those new homes will be provided as affordable housing. Some of those will be affordable rented properties. Others are likely to be available as affordable homes to own. For example, using shared ownership schemes, which are quite widespread in the area. But we're still at an early stage, and the exact mix of unit sizes hasn't yet been decided. But we're keen to hear views as we put those proposals together. But as you have heard already, we're looking at including quite a sizable number of 2- and 3-bedroom houses, as well as family houses as well. So we've got an extensive area of new open space proposed that will be accessible to the public to use and walk through and enjoy. And you've heard Craig speak about the potential for use of part of that for the primary school as well. There will be new planting throughout the site, new hedgerows, water features, and this is all designed to improve biodiversity on the site. And then, as with most housing developments, contributions will be made wherever these are required to improve local schools, local surgeries, and that sort of thing. And this is very common in development proposals at the moment, where if there is a need to improve any of these things, then developments are asked to pay their fair share of that, and that will certainly be done in this case. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Jonathan. My name's Andrew Whittingham from Motion Consultants. My role really, as the name suggests, is to advise on transport and highway matters. And I thought I would just present this slide. You will see the site indicated in red. I'm sure you're familiar with that. We're, as previous people said, we're proposing access onto Station Road. We've done surveys. We're confident that a new safe access can be provided, and of course we'll be discussing that with East Sussex County Council. In terms of car parking, again, that will be provided in accordance with the county standard. according to the type of housing that will be provided. Again, as others have mentioned, the site's in a very good location in terms of connectivity to the existing facilities in the village. I'm sure you're familiar with that, in terms of the byway and the footpaths. And you'll see the connectivity of the footpaths, which are the purple lines. And in terms of just access to the post office, the pub, etc., you'll see they're easily within walkable distance, and the school down in the blue dot in the southwest part towards the site. So overall, a good sustainable location, and as I say, we'll be having detailed discussions with East Sussex in the very near future. Thank you.
Hi, Billy. I think you're on mute for this one.
Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, I'm just going to cover now one of the other key considerations for the site, which is both ecology and landscaping. I'm sure many of you may know that Groombridge and all of the surrounding countryside around the village is in the High Weald Area of Outstanding Natural Beauty, AONB. However, whilst the site is within the AONB, our landscape advisors have assessed the site and identified that this particular area of the countryside around Groombridge does not strongly reflect the character and scenic beauty of the wider area of outstanding natural beauty. Indeed, actually, the District Council's own landscape assessment, which they've previously carried out independently, similarly identifies this area as being of low landscape sensitivity, whereas other parts of the countryside around the village are identified as being moderate to high sensitivity. So in landscape terms, it is in the AONB, but it is a lesser sensitive part of the countryside. That being said, we absolutely recognise the importance of minimising the impact of any development on the landscape. And as mentioned earlier in the presentation, our initial sketch proposals seek to concentrate development on the northern half of the site, where it's closer to the built-up area and more ensconced by development and the railway line. In doing so, that allows us to provide new landscaping and open space on the southern parts of the site, which are closer to what will continue to be the countryside around Groombridge and therefore the more sensitive areas. In terms of ecology, the fields are heavily grazed, being used as part of the delivery. They're heavily grazed by horses, and our initial work has shown that the site has relatively low ecological value. As our plans evolve following this consultation and taking account of views of the community, what we'll be looking to do is take a detailed look at the landscaping and planting proposals that could be put in place on the site, and how these can contribute to improving biodiversity and habitat value of the site. So that's looking at native species planting, that's looking at how we can use drainage features to also provide wildlife habitat in a sort of multifunctional way. But that really is a next step. It's certainly something at the forefront of our minds, but will effectively be meat on the bones as a scheme develops and subject to the views we hear through this consultation. Next slide.
Right, well, thank you very much, Billy. So yes, if our team could put their webcams on, that would be fantastic, so that our residents and attendees could see you all. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes, so yeah, welcome everybody. So this is the people behind the faces. So yeah, I will start with a few questions that we've had coming through, and I should say that please do keep sending your questions through as we try and answer them for you. The first one actually came through from Kate, who said, is the access to the site from Station Road only coming from the Little Wold plot? Perhaps Billy, you may want to address that. Is that possible? If I go back to the relevant slide. Yeah, Billy, if you could cover that.
Yep, thank you, Joe. So yeah, absolutely. The intention at this stage is that the access would be taken through Little Wold. So where you see the number 1 on the plan on the screen and the number 2, there will be a new access road created effectively between those 2 numbers, joining onto Station Road with a new junction meeting highway standards. At point 2, the access road would cross over the byway. And at that stage, as I say, we'll be looking to ensure that there are measures in place to make sure that the byway remains safe for all users. And then from point 2 onwards, the access would continue south into the site, and as shown on the initial proposals, sketch proposals, would form a loop around which the development is organised.
Okay, thank you very much, Billy. I should say as well, for anyone else thinking, I'd like to see what other people are asking. The questions will all be collated, and we will be putting that on the website in due course. We just don't have that functionality for this. The next question was from Tony, who said, "What will happen to the existing footpath along the site's southern boundary?" Unless I'm mistaken, Billy, is that one for you as well?
Yeah, that's what I can cover. Thanks, Joe. So that footpath, which is a sort of designated public right of way, would remain. There's absolutely no intention to stop up, divert, or change the course of that public footpath. So effectively, it sits just beyond that southern red line. As we've shown on our sketch, what we would be looking to do is try to reinstate some of the north to south links, footpath links between the byway to the north and the footpath to the south, to provide a bit of greater pedestrian permeability through the site. So really it's about enhancing the public footpath links that are there. Certainly no intention to change what's there. The footpath to the south would remain.
And apologies if you've already covered this, Billy, but Nick has said there is historic evidence of public footpaths running beside the railway line. Is there a plan to reopen these? Is that what you were talking about in terms of north-south?
Yes, yeah. So from our investigations into the sites, we've certainly not come across any specific defined routes. No kind of actual adopted public rights of way. But that being said, as I say, what the sketch layout indicates, and certainly is really at the forefront of our thinking, is to bring in some footpath links that run north to south, and would serve that same purpose as any historic routes that might have run along the railway line, but possibly in a slightly different alignment to how they may have historically existed.
Okay, thank you. And I'll take this. The 3 questions also sort of around the same sort of topic. They came from Guy, Richard, and Nicholas about affordability. Nicholas was saying, what does affordable rent mean? Guy was saying, what is the definition of affordable homes and what will the prices be? And Richard was saying, what would you expect to be the likely starting prices for affordable dwellings? Who would like to take that? Don't all jump at once.
I can. I can start off on this one. So affordable housing is defined by the government, that there are certain housing schemes that qualify as affordable housing, and Wealdon District Council have their own guidelines of how much of different types they like to see within particular sites. So the main 2 areas are social rented housing, that is effectively equivalent to what you might think of as council housing. That is not run generally by councils now, it's run by housing associations who will rent out houses to people who are on the housing list. So there will be a proportion of that. There are various products of affordable housing for sale, and that the government has been trying out a number of different schemes which are available here. One popular scheme which has been running for at least 10 years now is called shared ownership, and that's where people can have an opportunity to buy a share of the house with a registered housing provider owning the remainder of the house, and over time you can build up your share. So it's a good way of getting on the housing ladder without having to pay a full price. But there's a number of different other products that are coming forward at the moment. The government's got a whole proposal called First Homes, which is coming out soon. That may qualify for this going forward. It's too early to say in detail, but that's what we mean when we say affordable housing. These are products that are defined by the government and by the council.
Okay, thanks very much. Unless anyone wants to add anything to what Jonathan has said, we'll move on. But thanks, Jonathan. Paula has asked, could you please clarify what surveys have been carried out? Now, obviously, we are yet to submit an application, but clearly the surveys will form part of that application. Jonathan, is that one for you in terms of what surveys have been carried out to date?
Yes, so there will be a number of different types of surveys that need to accompany a planning application on a scheme like this. So they range from ecology surveys. There's various work that needs to be done on the transport in terms of understanding the impact on the surrounding area. There will be a landscape assessment, which is in the process of being undertaken in terms of looking at the impacts on the landscape. So that has already begun some time ago to help with the layout as it is now. That's very much been defined looking at some of the landscape evidence here. Those are probably the key ones, but there will be others as well coming forward over the next few weeks as we put the application together. We are in discussions with the council as developers are on all sides in terms of what the council expects to see as part of the planning application.
Thank you. And I think a concern for a couple of residents, and obviously the residents on this call, but I'm sure other residents as well, not on this call, is traffic and the impact on the roads. Can you just clarify when the traffic survey was conducted on this site and for this application? Andrew, is that one for you, perhaps?
Yes, thank you. It was undertaken a couple of months ago now. And primarily to check that the access is designed properly. So what we did was we put tubes across the road to measure vehicular speeds. And from that, we can establish the correct sight lines to make sure that the new junction will be safe. And also gives us obviously an idea of the amount of traffic on Station Road, etc., so that we can use that in the transport statement that we will be putting forward to the Planning Authority and the County Council, describing the traffic and the other features that we've talked about in terms of transport movement and connections.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that on the surveys and on the traffic. We've just got a couple of more questions, if that's okay. Potentially tricky one, apologies. But Chris, one of the residents, says, could the houses not be moved to the southern part of the site away from Leland's Close? Or could the units along Leland's Close boundary be removed? So I guess what's the rationale behind leaving that area of open space in the south? Who wants to volunteer themselves for that?
I can take that if you'd like, Joe.
Yeah.
Thank you. So really the rationale for the sketch layout that we've presented tonight has been driven in the main by the landscape sensitivities of the site and the landscape character of the site, and minimising any impact on the wider countryside and views of the AONB. So what that initial landscape appraisal has told us is that the northern part of the site, partly because of the topography, but also partly because of its relationship to the existing built settlement of Groombridge, naturally has lower sensitivity for development in landscape terms, and therefore has greater capacity to accommodate the houses. Whereas as you move south towards what will be the retained countryside and towards some of the more sort of open views of the surrounding countryside, it does become more sensitive. So that's really what's driven focusing development towards that northern corner. That being said, what we do absolutely acknowledge that what that does is place houses closer to existing houses and to existing neighbours. But again, what we've made an effort to do through the sketch layout is to orientate those dwellings in such a way that you don't get direct views, that there's space to maintain landscaping and reasonable separation distances. But certainly, as the proposals evolve, there may still be scope for us to tweak and move around some of those units in the northern boundary and look at particularly how we landscape that interface with the existing settlements in order to minimise impacts on existing neighbours as best we can. But certainly, as I say, that the driving factor behind where the development is broadly sited is minimising that landscape impact, which is a key consideration being in the AONB.
Thanks, Billy. And Craig, I'll put this to you since you were talking about open space earlier. Gwen has said, are there any plans to include playground facilities on the site beyond the potential sports pitch?
Okay, thanks, Joe. I think at this stage, because we're so early in the consultation period with the public exhibition, we haven't really planned anything like that or not. We've obviously only started sort of consulting with the school and opening up some dialogue in terms of need. I think we did suggest a couple of options to the school. So if I focus more on that element, either a community garden and or sports pitch. And I think the initial discussions, and it's obviously not final, was that a community garden probably isn't of use to the school, whether that's of use to the wider community. Again, happy to hear suggestions. In terms of the sports pitch, that was certainly something that seemed more of interest, and that's why we've gone down that route. In terms of further open space requirements or play areas with the local areas of play, that's a possibility. We haven't heard too much from the District Council at Wealden as to any requirements on that basis. But again, with such early stages pre-application, that once we go forward with an application, if it's something that's up for discussion, we're happy to enter those discussions with the council and see what can be proposed. But we've got a bit of space here, and I think that we'd like to utilise that as a community benefit. But we are, again, things like today are great because we get a chance to see what may be required, or certainly some ideas. And again, that can formulate our process as we move forward. Hope that helps.
Yeah, thanks very much, Billy and Craig. And I should say that obviously we won't be able to get to every question today, but that is why we will be committing to get back to every single resident, every single question, putting those questions on the website, and also putting a series of FAQs, which I believe are on the website at the moment, but we will be updating those to reflect some of the questions that you've asked that clearly other residents not on this call will be asking as well. One final question, if I may, which is looking to the future, and if this application is determined and is successful. Gwen has asked, how long would the construction and associated noise nuisance be expected to last? Would these be heard from the school? So if someone could pick up on, we will come to next steps and timescales, but if someone could pick up on general construction time and how long that's expected to last if it is successful.
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in here, Joe. It's I suppose a difficult thing to answer accurately, purely because there are quite a few factors that will determine the build program on the development site. I think typically, to give an approximation on a development site that could be up to 25 homes, I would imagine that you're looking at, from day one, putting a spade in the ground, you're probably looking at up to 2 years. It's more realistically probably within 18 to 20 months. If the weather's great, certainly the initial groundwork stage, then that can expedite things. So you can be looking at possibly 16 to 18 months. But I think it's reasonable to expect that it will be probably from start to finish, within a 2-year period is not unreasonable. In terms of noise, I don't know. I can certainly hear the school from the southwest section of the site, so that's not a bad sound to hear. But and as Billy will attest, both our wives are teachers. So in terms of the school, I don't know what you'd be able to hear during the build. I think the advantage of this development site, and probably because it's been so heavily sensitively designed to accommodate the AUMV, has to be developed in that sort of northwest section, is probably as far as you can get away from the school, so less sensitive from an overlooking point of view, but also from a sound point of view. But yes, with construction does come some noise. It would be a falsehood to say anything different. But as I consider a contractor, we do our very best, and certainly our engagement on a recent site we've got in Burgess Hill. We've had fantastic feedback with the community engagement, inviting a local school come along to see the site, to post pictures on the development hoarding. And actually we had a competition recently for the school, which was vouchers for books based on naming the development site. So we try to engage where we can, but in terms of noise, that's probably the best I can answer for now. I hope that helps.
Thanks, Craig, and thanks to all of our team for being on the call. Sorry, Patrick, you didn't get to speak, but maybe next time. So thank you, and we will be responding to each and every question. So thank you for sending them through. They are in the system, they are logged, and we will be getting back to everybody. If I could ask the team just to take their webcams off, just so that we can complete the exhibition. And the final question I'll pick up on is the engagement that we've had, and how we've gone about advertising this exhibition. I think Paula was the person who asked how did we deliver the newsletter and how many people it was delivered to. I can answer that. That went to 663 households and 33 businesses, which we believe are in the village boundary. Obviously, in addition to that, many of you will have seen in the latest St Thomas the Apostle Groombridge Church and Village magazine, there was an advert in there, and we've also been engaging with the parish council. We reached out to the parish council for a meeting, which they declined, and we've also been reaching out to the ward councillor, and as Craig says, we've been reaching out to the school as well. And we will continue to reach out to all residents because we haven't submitted an application. This is all part of an ongoing process of genuine engagement, and this is at the very start of that process. In terms of where we go from here, obviously today is the public consultation event, and the deadline for feedback we've set as not this Friday, Friday after. Please send that feedback through. We would then look at that feedback and submit an outline planning application for the proposals, and we would anticipate usually a determination either way by Wilden District Council in the autumn, with a view to beginning construction, if we are successful, by the end of 2022. But the feedback today is the most important thing, and you can do that in various ways. You will have noticed that the newsletter that we sent out to the village had in it a feedback form that you can complete now. There is also that same feedback form on our website, and at the end of this exhibition we also have a survey that you can fill out. So it's the same survey, it's the same feedback form. So when I end this exhibition, please do fill that please do feel free to fill in that feedback form. This whole exhibition, by the way, I should say, is recorded. So the recording will go onto the website. You will be able to see it again and again if you want to. You can send that through to fellow residents as well, and also to councillors. And in the meantime, if you want to contact us, you can use this number here or the email address, and both of those contact details are also available on the website. So without further ado, I will end tonight's exhibition, but I can't stress enough, this is the very start of the process. We want to see you, we want to meet with you, we want to answer your questions, and that is what we're going to do. So thank you very much. Please take the time to fill in our survey and get in touch if there is anything else you need. Thank you very much and good night.